Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the Rangers Review morning briefing. It is Wednesday, the 6th of November, or as the kids call it these days, match day -1. I'm joined by Stevie Clifford and Joshua Barry, who's over there in Greece at this moment in time. First of all, Stevie, how's it going?
Yeah, I'm all right. Thanks. Hope everyone's well.
Yeah.
I'm not jealous of Joshua at all.
Yeah, Joshua, tell us how. I mean, you're headed over to Greece yesterday. You're in Athens just now. How is it? Lots of bears heading out there, of course, over the next day or so. What's the weather like? What's the city like? Reveal all.
Reveal all. Not seen much of it yet. The glamour is I've been working since I woke up and also watching some election coverage, but obviously we won't get into. We'll leave that out of the Rangers review. But it's not really warm, but it's. I was saying to Chris last night, it's a difficult trip to pack for, isn't it? Greece in November, because you don't want to go for a big jacket, but then how cold will it be at night? So looking forward to working out that particular dilemma over the next couple of days, but a fair few Rangers fans over already. And big game tomorrow. We're heading up to the stadium today. It's press conference day. Philippe Clement speaking to the press slightly later on, I think about 6 o'clock back home, a couple hours ahead over here. So looking forward to that today.
Yeah, good stuff. It's press conference day, so we'll hear from the Rangers manager and whatever player is put up for the press ahead of tomorrow night's game. It will be a little later on, folks, because Rangers are travelling today. We expect it to be around 5:45 p.m. UK time, Joshua. All things going well. Sometimes these things can be delayed with planes and what have you, but round about 5:45, or I think it will be, you're 2 hours ahead over there.
Yes, we are 2 hours ahead over here. So 5:45. I think I always get confused. You know, when you even though it's only 2 hours, Derek, it always throws me off. So some point later tonight.
Yeah, good stuff. We'll have you covered tonight, folks, and we'll be across that press conference. Right, let's talk all things Rangers, and we'll start with the release of what will be a new strip next month. Rangers have announced that they will be unveiling, well, they have already unveiled this. You'd have seen it this morning, folks. I'll whack the photo up on the screen. What a beauty that is. It is the 125th Ibrox anniversary kit, and Rangers have confirmed they will wear it next month for a match. Seen it leaked last night. I'm interested to hear your thoughts on it, guys. Looking at it, when I looked at it last night, I don't know if it looked similar to maybe the Chelsea kit that they wore when they won the title under Conte, if I'm not mistaken. But the thing that stands out for me is a crest. Big fan of that. Not a fan of the sponsors. Hopefully there's a sponsor-free version available. But for me, that should have been the kit this season. Your thoughts, Stevie?
Looks a bit figure-hugging to me, Derek, so I'll give it a miss. No, I like it. Look, in all seriousness, I like it a lot. It's really quite smart. I like the old heritage badge and stuff like that. And yeah, it certainly looks good. There's not much you can change with regard to strips, is it? It reminds me of I think it was a 85, 86 C.R. Smith one. It's quite close to that. So it's a nice top. Goalie top's nice, but yeah, I mean, I think it'll be one, that the kids will want. So that'll be great for the old wallet and stuff like that. But I mean, it's a lovely kit. I think I do like it. But I just not much more to say, really, is there? No complaint from me. Like, it's really nice. It's
better than the home one.
It's quite plain, isn't it? I like it.
Better than the home kit?
No, I wouldn't. Listen, I don't think I would go down that route of saying it's better than or whatever else. I think it's just a really nice kit. It's quite plain, and sometimes the kind of plain traditional ones are the nicest ones.
Yeah. Joshua, your thoughts?
Well, I couldn't. Stevie's diplomacy there was it's hard to top. And I think he's stolen all the things you say about a new kit. It is nice and smart. I think it is nicer than the home one. I'll put my neck on the line. There you go, Derek. What about you? You're definitely going to say it's nicer than the home shirt.
Yeah, seeing it on the players, yeah, it's nice. I wasn't too sure when I seen the images yesterday, but yeah, a big fan of it. Interestingly, James says, we always seem to lose in our special kit, so I very much expect Rangers to get beat whenever they wear that jersey. I was just speaking off air. We all remember that the Gallant Pioneer kit they wore at St Mirren and lost. But Josh, no, not the Gallant Pioneer kit, the blue one they wore at St Mirren. The white Gallant Pioneer one, did they wear that at Dundee, Joshua? Did they win that game?
They won it, the game. They wore it, I think, as a warm-up kit. Stevie can correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm sure. Remember the game, the actual 150th anniversary game was home to Aberdeen. There was the amazing tifo in the main stand, and it was like a terrible, terrible game. I think Jim Goodwin was in charge of Aberdeen. And Glenn Kamara scored a goal in like 85 minutes or something like that. It was while Rangers still could win the league under Van Bronckhorst. And I'm pretty sure they wore it as a warm-up kit that day and then wore it away at Dundee a month later or so. And that was a game that a certain Aaron Ramsey equalised and Connor Goldson, I think, won the game late on. So, yeah, mixed memories, I'm sure, for people.
Yeah,
pretty sure it was Kamar Roof that scored in the 1-0 win over Aberdeen.
So it was. He was kind of on the goal line, wasn't he? But no, it was Kamara. It was Kamara on the byline. Kamara crossed it in, didn't he? Because he was playing in that further forward role under Gio. You're right.
Do you know why I remember? Because we were sitting next to each other in the gantry. It obviously means more to me than it did to you, Joshua. But that's
always fun.
Yeah. Blair with the point says Butland shorts are too wee for him. Yeah, they look like cycling shorts there. I think he needs to go for a bigger size by the looks of things. Looks a bit skin tight. But yeah, big fan of that jersey. Not quite sure who they'll wear it against. But yeah, that is available to buy now over on the Rangers website, folks. Before we continue, just before I forget, John Flynn says, "Morning, Derek. Would it be possible to wish my son Alfie a big 11th birthday today from Mum and Dad?" Yeah, absolutely, John. Happy birthday, Alfie, from everyone here at the Rangers Review. We hope you have a fantastic day today. Hope you've been spoiled with presents galore and you have a great day. So, yeah, magic. OTB 11 again. Right, let's talk Rangers. Joshua, big match tomorrow, of course. In terms of team selection, I know we're going to look into a Rangers 11 that may just offer a degree of hope and encouragement going forward. Do you expect the manager to make many changes tomorrow night?
I think he should. Whether he does or not is a different conversation. Chris and I spoke about this really briefly last night, Derek. But one thing that Clement, I think, can help himself with at the moment is controlling the optics. When your Rangers are third, obviously, at the moment, but when you're not top and in Glasgow, you're always going to be under a lot of pressure to work out how you're going to get there. And if you look at the team that ended the game, I'm sure Stevie, because we were sitting together at the weekend, which I do remember, Stevie will agree with me that just the optics of the second half, a younger team, a more dynamic team. Again, Chris and I spoke about the fact that I actually hadn't realised it was Danilo who kind of linked the play in the first instance for the winning goal before running beyond and creating that space for Bayrami. Now, we've spoken about that to death, but it's because Rangers have had so little variation in their team and starting 11 for a little while that it really stood out. You can't ignore, again, last night that Celtic go and beat RB Leipzig, and having watched some of that game, the thing that stands out, again, if you take this back to a number of Old Firm games over the last, in particular, I think, Derek, over the last year or so, it's felt to me watching on that Rangers just haven't been able to match Celtic with the legs that they have at the top end of the pitch comparatively to the Rangers defence, and similarly in the midfield. So I think going into this next month with that Old Firm Cup final on the horizon, home game against Aberdeen, that game against Tottenham as well, Clement, now is the time to evolve the starting 11 because he has the players available. You know, Stevie and I spoke about that before the game at the weekend. His options have been limited, and with the fact that Danilo maybe wasn't quite fit to start at the weekend, that still remained. He's obviously not in the European squad, so he can't start tomorrow. But a lot of attention is going to be paid to the right-back position and the centre-forward position in particular with that game against Hearts. Maybe it's after the international break we'll really see the core of the team that Clement wants to play over the course of December. But at the moment, if you're an under-pressure manager, the situations we've talked about a lot over the last couple of days, Sterling or Tavernier, Dessers or Danilo, and you could extend it to different areas of the park, you know, Diomande or Lawrence as well. I think there's a clear winner in each one of those positions at the moment, and there's a clear player who points to the future as opposed to pointing to the kind of present or the past at the moment, which hasn't been great for Rangers.
Yeah, well, let's get that team lineup up then without much further ado. Is this Rangers' best 11? So thanks to Joshua for making this up.
We'll just caveat this, Derek, with the fact that Cortez, because it's not clear exactly when he'll be back, we're not including him in it. I know Rangers kind of play a 4-2-3-1, but they've morphed into more of a 4-3-3. And I think if you've got Chefty and Sterling, who are both players who can go in, who both have the legs to kind of get around either by Rami and Cherney as well, as opposed to just sitting inside the pitch, that would morph into more of a 4-3-3 anyway. So just before anyone shouts at me in the comments.
Yeah, for those of you, I know that many of you listen to the podcast and don't watch us on YouTube, Instagram or Facebook. So for those listening, it's Butland in goal, back four of Sterling, Suter, Cashin, Weirjo and Jefty. A midfield three of Raskin, Barron and Diomande, with Cherney and Bayrami either side of Danilo. Stevie, do you like the look of that?
Do I like the look of it? I would need to see it in action, because I think we've got a tendency to try and build up things that possibly aren't there. I would change it. That won't surprise anybody. Redvan's still, in my opinion, a far superior left back than Jefty. It's just unfortunate he's made like a rich tea biscuit, and we've got no idea when he'll be back. So Redvan would always come in, I think, at left back for me, and then it would give me the option to move Jefty about and move him forward. Cortez, again, like you say, you're right. Nobody knows when he's going to be back, but I think the point that Joshua made is quite interesting about the energy side of it and what we're going to see. And I hate to labour the point of it, and I'll go back to something that Joshua and I discussed post-match at Hampden, and it was Dujon Sterling at right back, and the difference from him and James Tavernier was quite startling, in my opinion. And even the last, I think it was 93, 94 minutes, something I highlighted again on Sunday, that the boy, I think it's Jair from Motherwell, number 90, he was in on the left, and Sterling just trotted back and took it off him, like so easily, stopped a break on the left-hand side, just made it look so easy, and all that pressure that maybe comes from that was relieved by the fact that he just dealt with it properly, and it was a complete non-event, and people are maybe going, I don't even remember that, I don't know why you bring it up. The reason I bring it up was because if James Tavernier's there, he's not getting back. And as much as that might be harsh, James Tavernier wasn't getting back 25, 30 minutes into the first half when he was getting caught out. So I think that definite freshness it's time for that to happen. And look, you never know as well that James Tavernier might be able to affect games better in the last 30 minutes or so. Him coming on as a substitute with regard to it being the other way around. So that's another option to kind of look at. So I'm with Joshua on that. In the middle, I think Raskin and Barron are doing fine, but I'm still looking for them to take up their performance up in levels. Raskin's still quite loose on the ball, because I know he tries to make things happen and he tries to play quickly, but he needs to take care of the ball a wee bit more for me. Diomande, I thought, was really busy, and his energy, and it was interesting hearing Andy Halliday say that he was difficult to play against and he pulled him into places he didn't want to go. I actually highlighted that sitting with the boys in the gantry on Sunday, that I thought his energy was really good without being spectacular. And on the ball, maybe, I think that's fair. He did do a lot of running and a lot of kind of work that you maybe don't see, and that frees up others. So Cherney's the one that's red hot at the moment. Bayrami's starting to hit a wee bit of numbers, and then your front man. I think that Danny is still a few weeks away from being able to start. It'll be interesting if he does start, but I think you've seen things in the last 30 minutes again on Sunday that we haven't seen before. So for the moment, he's got to look like the one that has been at least deserving, I think, possibly of getting a chance at it. The thing with Cyril is, as we all know, I think the first, 7-8 games, he was banging goals in. I think he's up at 9 or 10 for the season so far, and we were all saying how well he was doing. First time finishes, he was looking all right, and then he goes into that slump after Malmo away. The last kind of 6-7 games, he's been absolutely miles off it. So And when he can't hold up the ball and contribute, there's two very vital moments on Sunday, without rabbiting on too much. I apologise if I'm going somewhere I shouldn't be. But 5 minutes in, Dessers can send Bayrami through on goal and he hits a Motherwell defender.
Yep.
Danilo then comes on with the last half an hour and his link-up's a lot better. He sends Czerny through twice for goal-scoring opportunities. One Czerny doesn't manage to make, the other one the goalkeeper saves. And as Joshua says, he's involved in the movement for the winning goal, and his run then beyond to kind of frees up the space for Czerny to find Bayrami. So I just think there's evidence there that energy that Josh was talking about can be provided by other people in the squad. The challenge then for them is, because it's all right having the energy and having the legs, the challenge then for them is having the quality. Can Raskin perform and take his performance up a wee level or two, which I still think it needs? He's done really well, but do we really like it because it's just somebody else coming in? That's my point on it. Sterling, can he be available for 6, 7, 8 games, and can he perform at right back? Can Danilo keep himself fit? So I think there's caveats and there's challenges as well for all them players before we say this is the best 11 or this is what they're doing. And that's probably why Philippe Clement has kind of stayed loyal to the ones that we maybe think he shouldn't have, because at very least they're available, Derek. So there's challenges there. But as Joshua says, and I back that as well, that energy, I think there's opportunities now. That's what I would say. There's opportunities now for people in the squad that we maybe haven't had before. And if they want them, I think they're able to go and get them.
Yeah.
I hope that all made sense. Sorry if it was rambling a wee bit.
Yeah, there's a few points we'll bring up. First of all, though, big thanks to Bluebells or Blues, just gifted 10 Rangers Review memberships. Thank you very much, sir. That is very kind of you. So if you want to take one of those up, you can gain access to exclusive content, extra content over on the Extra channel. So top man, thank you. Stevie's point about Ridvan, Joshua, I know that Johnny mentioned this when he was on the show on Monday. He would take him over Jefty. I'm not entirely sure I would at this moment in time. And if and when he does return, who knows when that's going to be, I'd still be keeping Jefty in the team somehow by moving him forward and moving Bayrami in centrally.
Yeah, I'm with you. And obviously, Derek, as people who've watched this for a while will know, I've been a big fan of Ridvan, even though his time at Rangers has been really disrupted by injury, hasn't it? Very much think that for the first couple of months of this year, he was Rangers' best player before he picked up that injury that effectively ended the season. I know he came back for a few games at the end. I don't know. For me, Jefty's been Rangers' most impressive signing. And I know Connor Barron has been a really good signing as well. And I'm not taking anything away from that. I think Jefty, of the players at the moment, if you're looking at what Rangers paid for him and what they could one day get for him, given that he's only 20 years old, I'm going for him with the highest sell-on value at this moment in time. I'm not hugely in favour of moving him out of the left-back spot because, again, much like Dujon Sterling on the right, that is the area for me where I think he's got the highest ceiling as a left-back who, is moving on to the game and has that attacking edge as opposed to just a left winger who maybe starts in those areas. And at the weekend, he made, again, as we discussed on Monday, he made a bad mistake for the first goal. Right? He wasn't alone in it. I don't think he's made many bad defensive errors in his Rangers career so far. He also backed that up by creating a couple of really good opportunities. He hit the post. He's a fantastic save away from volley and one in from 20 yards away, and very much responded by still taking ownership and responsibility, being direct. So I'm not entirely sure about putting Ridvan back in there. I mean, the plan this season was always that Jefty would challenge Ridvan and you'd have two players in that position, much like at right back as well. Obviously, that hasn't materialised because Ridvan hasn't shown he's been able to be fit for a sustained period of time. But I agree more generally with Stevie that you look at that team, in particular the team that started at the weekend, Derek, Rangers don't have enough. I think if you were to make one big criticism of the overall squad at the moment, even when everyone's fit, there's not enough pace in the front area of the pitch. Aside from Rabbi Matondo, there's not much breakaway pace whatsoever. Maybe Oscar Cortez, you could say that, but still, I think he's a player who wants to come to feet more than he wants to spin in behind, even though he can shift from what we've seen a little bit so far. as a result of that, you need, I think, more and more runners in the team. Connor Barron showed that for the first goal, and we've seen that a lot throughout his Rangers career, wherever he's played. Obviously, Dujon Sterling's 10 years younger than James Tavernier. We've discussed that position to death, but I definitely think it's time that I agree with Stevie. I think that James Tavernier can still play a part, and of course he will between now and the end of the season. He probably take a bit of pressure off him by putting Sterling in to that right back slot at the moment. And when Rangers go back for that Old Firm Cup final, I think you know who you'd want defensively at right back with Dyson Mather's record up against James Tavernier in recent matches in mind. So I think the more energy and the more legs you can get outside of the front four in that team, the better. Because if you look at the likes of Cherney and Bayrami and Danilo, none of those are electric players in terms of the top speed. They can all maybe, we saw Danilo move quickly for the for the second goal, the winning goal that Rangers scored at the weekend. But if you have the likes of Barron and Sterling and Shefty and even Diomandi over Lawrence in there, it's just that little bit more unpredictable, and I think it makes it more difficult for an opposing manager to predict what Rangers are going to
do. Stevie, that team that's up there, big question is, does James Tavernier come back in tomorrow night? Cyril Dessers obviously would come back in for Danilo, given he's not in the European squad. Do you think that is pretty much bang on? Would you be bringing James Tavernier back in to start the game? Do you expect that to occur?
No, whether I expect it to occur is a different question than would I do it. Would I do it? The answer is no. I thought James Tavernier on Sunday was extremely poor, not just on the ball, but also off it. Highlighted a number of times sitting with the boys that he was getting caught out by just kind of simple reverse passes in. I thought on the ball he was extremely poor, and his crossing wasn't the same kind of accuracy that we've seen. So, no, I would take him out. And I think that in a game like this, where it's possibly, dare I say it, and I expect to probably get criticism, it's a bit of a free hit, isn't it? Because we're not really expecting us to get anything from Olympiacos away. It wasn't a game where we'd earmarked at the start of the campaign that we might get something. And although we go out there with an expectation because it's Rangers and we always do, I'm not sure that this would be a game that is high risk in terms of putting Dujon Sterling in. So I don't think Dujon Sterling gets exposed the way James Tavernier does. Now, I've got a tendency to say stuff which immediately bites me in the bum. So let's hope it doesn't if that comes back in. But I don't think that he gets exposed as much as James Tavernier is at the moment. So, no, Tavernier wouldn't come in. Likewise, Tom Lawrence would not play in midfield for me either. We know that Tom is starting again, once again, picking up these wee niggly injuries everywhere. But he doesn't start for me. And I think the freshness, Casavirzo also starts at centre-half, just because I'd like to see how he handles that. Leon Balogun's been fairly solid, but can he handle this amount of games? I think Joshua commented at the weekend that was his fourth start in recent games, so I'm not sure. Maybe I quite like the look of that back four. That's fine. Middle three, yep. And the thing with Dessers is that this is the thing. I think and it shows the level of frustration we have at the moment, because Eagleman came in at Dundee United and he showed one or two good things, particularly the touch and the hold up and the through ball. And his story probably isn't dissimilar to Danilo's at the weekend performance wise, and what Danilo done, Derek, in terms of holding it up, playing the through balls and things like that. And the level of frustration we have over Dessers at the moment is because he's not doing those things. Would I start Eagleman tomorrow night? The answer is probably no, because I don't think he's ready yet. And the games he started, I don't think he's shown enough. So, maybe a wee bit of pressure on Cyril to start games would be a good thing, because he's got a really bad habit recently. I don't know if people have picked up on it. Maybe it's just me being overcritical. But it seems to me every time the ball goes in his box, he's on the deck, or he's complaining of getting pulled, or he's getting, he's not robust enough for me, Derek, at the moment to be bossing and bullying those defenders the way he are. So the challenge for him now, if he wants to keep his place, and by the way, he will come back in tomorrow night, and I think that's unfair on the manager because he doesn't really have anyone else. But there's a real challenge now for Cyril to start kind of doing the proper things again.
Yeah, I think the Hearts game is a bigger game of the two. Philip Clement cannot afford to drop points in that game. It's unthinkable, really. Do you go along with that, Joshua? There's a point as well I wanted to bring up here, and it'll tie in with Rangers B team last night, who thrashed Partick Thistle in the Glasgow Cup. Finlay Curtis with a hat-trick, Haji netting a goal, and the young lad Edie scoring as well. There was also a debut for young 15-year-olds at Oliver Goodbrand, which is absolutely fantastic. 15 years of age, absolutely incredible stuff. Tom Scott with the point says, I would change it to Monday with Haji to see how it goes, whereas Aldo says Finlay Curtis could get a shot on the left after last night. What do you think about that?
I think he could, and obviously performances, I wasn't at the game because I'm out here obviously, but performances like last night, just reading a little bit the reaction, won't hurt him. Obviously, if you look at where under Clement, where players have been able to break in, it's really been Ross McCausland, hasn't it? And that is in part because there was a position that was open there in I think across all the attacking areas for Rangers, even if everyone is fully fit at the moment. Derek, and this ties into Zach Lovelace as well, there is opportunity there. Just to go back to what Stevie was saying, I agree with him that I think if you were to play this team over let's say hypothetically, right, and maybe Danilo isn't going to be quite ready definitely will be ready to start 2 games a week. But let's say he's ready to play in the big games over the course of December, and he starts against Hearts and Dujon Sterling, who I believe is ready to play 290 minutes in a week now and has overcome the injury issues that kind of disrupted his October when you didn't really see him for a month. Let's say that's the team. I think you take pressure off Tavernier and Dessers. Dessers will undoubtedly go through another spell this season where he has a bit of a purple patch. His hold-up play isn't consistently good. Right, that's not the best part of his game. But there is isolated matches like Malmo away where I think he did have a relatively effective game in terms of bringing Rangers up the pitch, because, as we discussed, Chris and I last night, if Olympiacos or a team in Europe press Rangers, it automatically, I think it makes them look better because they have space to play into, as opposed to trying to create space, or as opposed to Dessers trying to do what Danilo did against Motherwell when they're sitting back, which is actually creating opportunities and dropping in. He's never going to do that consistently. That's just not his game. So I agree with Stevie. I think you actually take the pressure off those 2 players a little bit. You allow them to still contribute. Dessers was never signed to be an out-and-out number 9 in every single game in this system for Rangers. That just wasn't the plan. Obviously, Danilo's complications coming back from injury this summer haven't helped the number 9 position either. So I wouldn't be surprised if he has an effective performance in Olympiacos. I won't be surprised when he goes and scores a few goals throughout the course of the campaign. But equally, I won't be surprised if Clement sticks with the same kind of tried and tested. If he goes with Tavernier and Lawrence and Dessers against Celtic at Hampden next month and Rangers aren't to win that game, then I think that is doing the same thing and getting the same results. There's enough evidence to suggest that you should do something different, move to the future, play the players that we've all discussed to death over the last few days. And then you still have a role for these players who shouldn't have been playing, the likes of Tavernier and Dessers, probably shouldn't have been playing that share of minutes at the start of this season anyway. It's just so happened that Clement hasn't had an abundance of options. Now he's starting to get more options in those key positions in particular. I think he has some big decisions to make this week.
Yeah, just in that B team game, Stevie Bluebells or Blue says, really silly we didn't see Danilo play B team football last night. Bit strange why he wasn't involved. Do we know why? And would you like to have seen him last night?
Would I like to have seen him get 20 minutes? Maybe, but he's in the squad for Sunday. So they're maybe just managing him as best they can at the moment and taking their time with him. He had a good 30 minutes on Sunday, which they'll be pleased with. It's a risk and reward thing. Maybe they've seen enough out of him on Sunday to think, what's the point in putting him in for 20 minutes in a B team game where we want him to be fresh and ready perhaps for Sunday? So if Dessers is going to start tomorrow night, then could Danny get the first half on Sunday? That's maybe what you're going for, because he can't play 90 minutes, that's for sure. Could he play the first half and make the difference in that game? So on the point about, I think Aldo said about Finlay Curtis and things like that, look, seen Finlay a couple of times and he's a very exciting young player. Asking him suddenly to come into the first team's a hell of a lot, Derek. I think there needs to be a kind of expectation. We need to manage these boys properly. But I'm all for getting Finlay Curtis on the bench. And this is where it's going to seem harsh and people might grumble or whatever. That's fine. I would rather see Finlay Curtis on the bench than Kieran Dowell, where we know that Kieran Dowell, or similar, we know what they can offer, and that's not a lot. And they're not going to be part of Rangers in the future. So I would rather mix it up and give these young guys 10, 15 minutes in games where we can to see what they can do. It was nice to see Zach Lovelace get a wee bit of time in the European game against Stoya. I would like to see more game time for these young boys. Finlay Curtis can play left or right side up front. He has scored a hell of a lot of goals. He can go central as well. And, you know, I seen him against Stenhousemuir. He was very impressive. One of the goals, Derek, he was back to goal against his man. A through ball, which he skipped over, eluded the defender, and then by the time the defender came, he was round and he was in to score. So, look, I think that there's some potential players in the B team, but the gap between the B team and the first team is absolutely massive. So it's about managing that. He has been to Holland. He did go to Holland with the squad. He has trained and is training on occasion with the first team as well. So he is in the loop, I think, to be fair, for people asking about Finlay Curtis. But it is a big jump, and we'll just need to see where we go with that. So it's an interesting one. I would have liked to see him involved in squads and on benches and that, yeah. I think that's fair. Danilo last night, would have liked to see him get 20 minutes. Is there much point when I really need him to be fit and well for Sunday? I would rather keep him for then.
Just in comparison, Olympiacos have got a 17-year-old wonder kid, Christos Mousakidis. He's been dubbed the Greek Iniesta, and Mendilibar, their coach, has been playing him, and he's been impressing, so much so he's been called up to the Greek senior setup as well. I would like Philippe Clement to have a bit more trust in some of the young lads coming through, just play them and see what they can do. I know he has been a tad reluctant, and given the pressure on him, I can understand why he's not thrown these boys in, but it shows you it's a sink or swim sort of scenario, and that young lad at Olympiacos, who I imagine it will start tomorrow night, is certainly taking his opportunity with both hands. So, yeah, it will be interesting to see how he gets on tomorrow. Right, I think we'll wrap up there. Let's get the team out of there. It'll be interesting to see if that team, I know Danilo won't be starting, of course, but if that will be close to what Philippe Clement will go for tomorrow night. But just a reminder, folks, we will hear from the manager. We'll find out who is available, who isn't, a little later on this evening. Joshua will be at the press conference for us. Is it near your hotel, Joshua? What's on the agenda for today? Heading up to the Acropolis, the Pantheon, or things like that?
Yeah, I might do that tomorrow because the Olympiacos press conference is this afternoon as well. So it's in the nearby, the stadium's in the nearby town of, I think, it's not, I'm going to say this wrong, it's not Piraeus, it's, I can't remember, but it's the big ferry port just below Athens. Yeah, head there. Myself, yourself, and Chris will be live briefly after the Rangers press conference to discuss any big news. I'm sure there'll be something to discuss from Philippe Clement's press conference. We'll also bring you whatever the Olympiacos camp have to say that holds bears particular significance. We'll have that as well on the website. So yeah, people can keep up to date with us as usual, and we'll have lots and lots of more coverage. A little bit more of Athens perhaps tomorrow ahead of the game at night.
Yeah, if you want to learn more about the opponents, I did speak to an Olympiacos podcaster, Ari, who was terrific. Go and find it on the YouTube channel, folks. They very much sound like a Greek version of Rangers, given they are struggling against teams that play a low block. They've got a coach who sets them up that are more comfortable in European football than anything else, and they seem to be having a few issues, just like Rangers. But it will be intriguing how that contest manifests itself tomorrow. Stevie, do you want to jump in there at all? Or?
I was listening to just Joshua saying about Athens and everything else. You know what, Derek? I'm off to Pound Stretcher on Barhead Main Street today, so
wow,
I'll take my day over Joshua's anytime.
Living the dream. Other cheap shops are available, of course. Pound Stretch, is that still going? I've not been in a Pound Stretcher for yonkies.
Need duct tape, Derek, so I'll take a wee wander down there and see what I can find.
Excellent stuff. Right, that'll do us. Thank you to you all for your support to the channel and for tuning in. Just a reminder, if you are an avid watcher of the show and you haven't yet subscribed, hit that subscribe button, folks. There's lots of content free of charge on the channel, as well as alongside the morning briefing also. Right, we'll speak to you later on. Bye for now.